You really put the music on, right?
What's that?
You really put the Adele on.
Oh shit! I didn't turn Adele off.
No, that's fine. You can put
I love Adele.
you can put your
Every
girl music.
lesbian loves Adele.
I don't,
Okay.
no, that's okay. You can put it if you want. So anyway, what just want to explain to the people. Scott too. I was a woman for a couple months. The first time we contact each other on Facebook. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because of my name, right? For months we've been talking together, right? About all the war, that the things that happen in school, and
Yep.
and you wanted to write something about me on your website, I think, and you you thought I was a mother of
I did. Because
that
your name, right?
I actually thought you were a man, so we kind of that was perfect. So
Yeah.
seriously, for a while I really thought it until I realized your story, but
Yeah.
that was a comic
Yeah.
time.
You were pretty tenacious. So I thought you were a woman. First of all, I thought you were a mother. I mean,
Yeah,
how strong you were. And then when I found out that you were a man, and I thought, okay, well, he's probably just going to lose steam with this. But you are a beast with this stuff. You really are. I wish more dads would step up like you.
yeah, I wish too, man. I understand. I almost understand why you thought it was a more woman in the beginning, because in the beginning of this war, only women were fighting it.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
crazy, right? So it's
Yeah.
but now I think men's are showing a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you got Chris, of
Oh
course,
yeah,
Billboard Chris up there that's doing good work, and then you and all that kind of stuff.
oh yeah. There was a couple. The other guy, what his name? He's from US, man. He's always joking on school boys and putting some.
Oh, is that the Florida guy, Florida
Yeah, I don't know
Fathers?
if it's from Florida, but he's very comic, man. He really is making a joke offensive for people, walking around them and removing all the flyers, and yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's good. So what is your Rambo rebellion? What do you want to do?
Well, it's funny. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and I've realized that I've kind of got I kind of have a revolving thing that I do that I've just actually become aware of, which is, I was sick for a long time with medical transition. I don't think people realize that I was sick for 17 months with a reoccurring infection, and the infection was not just God, you just don't feel well. I mean, it was horrible. Not to go into it, but I still get infections. So I've been doing this for 5 years, and I realize that I get on this like roll, and then all of a sudden I feel really overwhelmed. And it's like I just want to quit, and I start just telling everybody to F off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized on this last trip to the UK that it happens right around the time that I'm getting a recurring infection. And so I'm trying to be just a little bit more cognizant of when I'm not feeling well, and kind of taking some time off of that, and trying to do it in little bit of stages, and actually being thankful for people that are helping me and donating, because it's really making me able to do this full time. I mean, I do it 100. I do it 24/7. I really, really do. And so when I got back from the UK, I had a raging infection. And I actually even had to go on IV antibiotics for a couple of days. And I realized that there's been a point in this activism stage where every time I kind of back away from it, it's always when I have an infection. Everything just becomes a little bit too overwhelming, and that kind of stuff. So as I was kind of recovering from that, I realized that, what, I need help. I need help from other rainbow people. I need to just tell people that, what, sometimes I'm not 100% physically yet still. And sometimes I Billboard Chris, I mean, I think I got onto him about something a couple of months ago, and it really wasn't fair. It was just me not feeling well. And so I need to realize when I'm not feeling well, and realize that I need people to help me. So I reached out to Gays Against Groomers, and I had this idea that, what, we really need to do what's called a rainbow rebellion. We've got to do something where gays and lesbians and transgender and bisexual people are leading the charge, but we're accepting the support of everybody else behind us. We're accepting the straight guys like you. We're accepting the straight women. We're accepting, the evangelicals that maybe don't believe us. We're accepting everybody to help stop what's happening with these children, and I kind of came up with that idea. We decided to start it on Pride in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, on the 24th.
Yeah.
And man, let me tell you, things have absolutely just gone nuts with it.
I believe you. There is a
Yeah.
lot of people into the Rambo community that just have enough of this bullshit because
Yeah.
they're using them actually to push this this freaking then psychopathic ideology, man, toward children,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if the art and we're going to mutilate children on behalf of the LGBTQ community, which doesn't make any sense, right? But they're
No,
using
and most of us
as
don't
a
agree with
shield.
it, Pierre. Yeah, most of us don't agree with it. Seriously, most gays and lesbians don't agree with it. And when I help people understand from a kind of business standpoint, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 5 years, and it was up till about 6 months ago that I didn't realize that activism was a business. I thought it was just a whole bunch of people that really were passionate about stuff, trying to get things changed. And so I didn't run it as a business. I kind of ran myself into the ground. Once I started to realize that, hey, activism is a business, I'm doing a good thing, it's okay for me to ask help, I kind of went outside of that and I thought to myself, well, hey, listen, in 2015, the gay and lesbian community won all the rights that we were after, right? We were after same-sex marriage. We were after, basically having dignity and respect as everybody else has, all that kind of stuff. Well, we won it. Well, what happened to the LGBTQ at that time? At that time, their business model fell through the floor. When their business model fell through the floor in 2015, they were filing bankruptcy. And a year later, they had a 32% year-over-year growth. And the only thing that they did different was sign on with mermaids to promote the medicalization of children. So, I realized in this last little stint of being sick that I got to run this like a business. I got to ask help from other people, and I have to accept help, and we need to come together in a rainbow coalition.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's hard to accept help when you want to help people. You know, what I mean, it's very weird because you're doing this from the heart, but at
I
the
am.
same time, you need money to
You do.
survive and do your things. For me, I'm lucky. I didn't have to ask for any money. Actually, I'm doing pretty good. But I understand that some people's, like if you're doing this full time, which I think is very necessary, that people like you and people like Billboard Chris that they do this full times. It's a very important that there are some people that their work is to get rid of gender ideologies in schools and to protect the children. So I
Yep.
think it's important to. I understand it may be hard to ask people for money, but I think it's important that people supports people like you, people like Billboard Chris, and many other. I might say many, but there's still a few men that only do this like full time. So it's
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, next week I'm going down to Nashville we're doing the live stream for the year after What is a Woman? I mean, every week I'm doing something and going somewhere. And I have been doing that while working a full-time job for the last 4 years. And I finally just realized I cannot do it anymore. And I also realized that for some reason, whatever it might be, I've got a thick skin. People can't get to me, number one. Number two, I'm able to explain to people what's happening in a way that doesn't, demonize the LGBTQ, because I am still a lesbian. I decided to be a trans man. I believe you are born with who you're attracted to. You can choose to medically transition. Those are two separate things. But for some reason, I have a way of being able to communicate that. And I need help. And the UK was kind of, I was going to the Women Speak rally. I was sick as a dog. I refused to admit it. I mean, I was staying with a physician, if you can believe it, who told me I had an infection. I didn't believe her. Got me on antibiotics, and there I am in the middle of London, and I peed myself because I get these urinary tract infections where they just go hog wire. Here I am about to speak at, Let Women Speak, and I'm like embarrassed beyond, belief. Then I have to go and do like these news channels. And so it was like, at that point, it was like, I'm either going to accept help finally and be gracious about it, or I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's a good thing. Can you, so if you don't mind, because you got quite a stories, I think it, yeah, I think it's really important that that you work on this because of your story, because you've been manipulated very old in
yep.
age actually, and you
Yeah.
were already a mother. So So you have children, you give birth to children, you fully woman, right? Fully functional woman. And
Yeah, I was up just before this. I was up making homemade chicken nuggets for my kids. I mean, I am a full
yeah,
on parent, mom. Call me whatever you want. I really don't care. But yeah, I gave birth. I've carried life, and then that's a responsibility, I think, for any woman who has done so, regardless of what I look like. And I still get attacked for not detransitioning. Although when I made What Is a Woman, I hadn't taken testosterone for 13 months. That is detrans. You know what? But
yeah,
apparently that's not detrans enough for anybody. So I get attacked, for that. I don't claim detrans. I don't claim detrans for one reason. And that reason is because these kids that are being claimed as detrans, that they're lifted in the media, and they go around for about a year and they get all this attention, all this spotlight. When that falls down, they have to realize that they're going to look like 17, 18-year-old boys for the rest of their lives. They're going to sound like 17, 18-year-old boys for the rest of their life. They're going to have to tell people whenever they go into the store for the rest of their life that, sorry, it's ma'am, not sir. At some point, there's got to be people that actually adult better and adult for these kids, regardless of where they're at, whether they decide to get back on testosterone so that they don't, stand out like a spotlight. I mean, getting attacked for not detransitioning, when the fact is that testosterone changes you. Testosterone adds, estrogen blocks. When you add, for me to pass as a woman again, I would have to get surgery after surgery after surgery, and I just don't have it in me. I don't, for anybody else. So
yeah. You went through enough of this, right?
I did.
I think you mutilate your entire front arms, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's what I don't think people realize is that,
Yeah.
that
Oh
is
yeah. That's oh my
normal. I mean,
God.
when you go on Dr. Crane's site again, he's got one or two photos, the same photos that I saw.
Yeah.
And when I went in for the phalloplasty, it was just no big deal. It was no big deal. Just go in, not that big of a deal, all that kind of stuff. And as I researched it afterwards, I realized that it is at the same severity level as brain surgery. I mean, it is so intense that we have the best surgeons in the world that are not doing this. The best urologists in the world are not touching this because there's a 67% complication rate. They know that there is a huge failure rate of it. The PTSD, I mean, this drowns these girls so bad, where they have colostomy bags for life, they get infections for life, and they are all drowned out as being bigots and all that kind of stuff. Or they have severe PTSD that they don't come out and talk because they are broken. Absolutely completely broken. People have no idea, the people that I talk to, when all the cameras go down and that kind of stuff, people have no clue how much time I spend with people that are absolutely broken beyond me. And that is something to be said, because I'm pretty broken too.
Yeah, I believe you. I truly believe you. And yeah, so but you are David. They are creating a generations of victims, generations of children who are going to look the way they are, and we are going to, when everything is going to fade away, we're going to need to be very respectful for those children who has been because
Absolutely.
it's like a physical scar, right?
It will,
A lot
yeah,
of children who has been, let's say, sexually abused, they have internal a scar about what's going on. But the trans children who are going, you know what I mean by trans children, right?
well, yeah, no child's trans. Nobody's
Yeah,
trans. You
exactly.
created. I mean, I think verbiage is important, and I
Yeah,
think loving verbiage is important. There are some people who feel more comfortable presenting as the opposite sex that they are. I go for that.
yeah.
But we have to think of these children, Pierre. Since you're so concerned about children, let's talk about kind of the timeline of these children and what happens.
Mhm.
When you're 11 or 10, 11, 12 years old, puberty in itself is horrible, right? Even for people that absolutely fit in. For Joe quarterback, and we've got, Polly cheerleader. Those people have hard time with childhood. Now, the children that believe that they're transgender are all the people that truly do not fit into society. They are the kids that are autistic, that don't have the skills, the social skills. So when they walk up and talk to somebody, they don't do it the right way. And people kind of look at them like, God, what the hell's wrong with you? And they don't know that, hey, you know what? They're autistic, and you know, the way that they handle life is not the way a lot of people handle life. Let's teach them how to do so. No, they're just getting that stage where they realize that something's wrong with me. It's all the kids that are same-sex attracted. So all the little kids, you know, that are getting hormones, all the straight girls that are, you know, just, you know, loving the boys, and all the straight boys that are loving the girls. And you're sitting over here going, well, God, I don't feel like that. And, you know, because the majority of people are straight, you know, so then you don't feel like you belong. All the people that are mentally gifted, it's not really the mentally gifted men as much, or boys, as it is the girls, because, you know, in society, mentally gifted women are not really lifted yet. You know, it's the people that skipped grades like I did, all those kind of people that maybe think outside of the box. They're the people that are mentally ill. You know, mentally ill people have done some amazing things in society. They're great artists. They're great musicians. They think a little bit different than most people. So all these people, and then we kind of clumb into this, the fact that, you know, some of these kids have traumatic childhoods, or they don't have good childhoods, but for some reason this ball of children don't fit in. They don't fit in. And so all of a sudden we tell these children at 10, 11, 12, when they think that they know everything, when we know they're the stupidest they could possibly be, not because there's anything wrong with them, it's just childhood, you know, puberty, you're the stupidest you'll ever be. You know, this is the time that people tell them that they're born in the wrong body. All the people that are supposed to be out there for them, that are supposed to lead them with grace and dignity and love, people that are supposed to care for them, people that are supposed to do the right thing, even if it takes a little bit too much from the person doing the right thing, right? That's what adulthood is, right? You know, tearing a little bit more of piece off of yourself so that your children don't get, you know, pieces torn off of them. So at that time, everybody's telling them that there's something wrong with them. And it's at that point when you think that, oh my God, this is going to make me fit in. So we have these 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds that think that they're going to fit in, you know, and so they are, you know, just ferocious with that. And then they grow. And then they, you know, they go through the medical process, and then they end up to be 18, 19, 17, 18, 19. And they realize that, hey, you know what? Medical transition didn't really help anything. But I'm not able to have kids anymore. I was a girl that was just mentally gifted. I was a straight girl. Now I have to look like a straight, you know, a gay man for the rest of my life. I can't have children. I have early onset osteoporosis. I've induced psychosis. I have heart issues. I have to take, you know, medicine for blood thinning. I mean, I've got all these things, you know, happening to me. And now I realize that, you know, I really don't fit in. Because I really didn't fit in then, I really don't fit in now. And I lost the time to create that thick skin of being able to, you know, embrace myself. So then that girl gets lifted by, you know, evangelicals or feminists or whatever. And then all of a sudden they say, this is going to help them. This is going to, you're going to detrans and everything's going to be okay. And all the lights go on. And then all the lights go off, and they realize that that didn't fix anything. That, hey, listen, I got to figure out what is the best thing for me. So we are throwing these kids under the bus twice, instead of just stepping back and saying to them, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. I don't need to put you on TV. I don't need you to tell me your story. I don't need to tell your story to anybody else. What I need to do is adult better and ask you, what do you need? And it's okay if you tell me that I think that I might want to transition back because I don't want to look like a 17-year-old boy for the rest of my life. Let's talk about that instead of dropping that person as, you know, a traitor. I don't know where the adults are anymore for these children. I feel bad for these children through and through, all the way through.
Yeah. You know, that makes sense what you said. You don't want to, you don't want them to suffer twice from medical.
They're being used twice is what's happening.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly.
And I do believe that we need to hear detransition stories. Yeah. We do. You know, I've got a rule, and anybody that works with me knows that rule. Everybody thinks that I have something against detransitions. I don't. But here's what I don't do. I don't lift, promote, talk about, or push detransitioners that are under 25, period. Number two, I don't push out front or promote or throw a detransitioner out and say, look, I'm right. unless they're over 25 and they have been detrans longer than 3 years. That's what adulting better looks like.
Yeah, detransitioners and transitioners, actually, the way I see it, for me, they are both victims. So we have to treat them as victims, actually, of I think
Yep.
this is the biggest abuse that ever happened in human history. That the state has allowed child mutilations, and a lot of people seems perfectly fine with it. So yeah, so when everything's going to fade away, it's going to be very important for people to accept the victims and to take care of the victim. And there is something I saw
Yep.
too in the speech of a lot of those victims, a lot of the transitioner, actually, is they speak like if it was their fault. They say, I should have done better. I should have, if I was,
Yep.
if I knew this, I would not have done this. So they talk exactly the same way that someone who has been sexually abused by someone. So
Absolutely.
the state has been able to put the blame on the victims, the same things that a pedophile is going to put the blame and all the shames on the victim. So now the detransitioners, they are ashamed of the decisions they made before. But what happened to them when they were 15 years old, 14, sometimes 12, is not because of them. It's because of those monsters who have done that to them. You know what I mean? So it's just, and
Absolutely.
I think that's something very important. I saw a lot of interview with detransitioners and even trans young people, and I think that the discussion have to switch. We have to treat them like victims. That's what they are, and
They absolutely are. And you know what? I do support detransitioners absolutely 100%. I support them when nobody else is looking. I support them at 1 o'clock in the morning when they need to talk to somebody. I support them at 3 o'clock in the morning when they feel shunned. That's when I support them, because I realize what it feels like to kind of be sold this bag of lies. I mean, I was 42 years old. I am not a I'm not an airy person. I'm not a pushover person at all. I've got a big heart. But I don't get bowled over very, very easily. But at 42, when this whole thing, came out, I mean, it's, my whole life was, from a very little girl, basically realizing, as I look back, that all the things that happened to me as a child, as a girl, that were, my family was great with, you are who you are, but it was almost like, hey, calm it down a little bit. Girls don't act like that much. Just don't do that. I mean, all the times that I kind of looked up as a little kid and went, why is that wrong? Why is it that can be loud and I'm an alpha person, and why isn't that okay as a little girl? I realized that if it was changed to a male, that it would go from, like, hey, stop that, to, oh my God, the alpha male son that every alpha male wants. I mean, that would have been me. I mean, I'm the stereotypical, male that every man wants. But the problem is that I was a girl. And so I spent my whole life. And then at 42, just little things like, being with a woman that hated being a lesbian and used to joke for years that I was just a man in a woman's body, kind of a thing. And just like laughing. And then, watching, Jazz Jennings and all these, all those things coming up at just one day of, oh my God, I wonder if I was born in the wrong body. The next week I was sitting in front of a trans woman therapist that asked me how long I had been dressing like a man. No, I dress like a man now just because it's easier for me than going out in a dress and having to explain things. But, at the time I looked like a business sales executive woman. There was no man or woman alive that would think I was a man. But, she looked at me and said, how long you been dressing like a man? And I was reduced to an 11-year-old, like that, like feeling like an idiot. Like I was born in a man's body and I had no clue, but everybody else did. So yes, these kids are victims. They're absolutely victims. They're victims. I'm even more of an idiot. I mean, I was 42. How many people want to go on camera and just say, hey, listen, I'm a total idiot. Don't be as big of a fucking douchebag as me. I mean, it's hard to do. I do it because I am a mother.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. You do it because you are a mother. What you're doing is your mother instinct, actually. You don't care about their shame. You don't care about anything else. You're there to protect children. That's your mother instinct. And I truly believe you have a very strong mother instinct, actually.
I do.
With everything you do, I think we can all feel it. You thought that you had like some alpha male trait. What kind of trait you talking about that you had? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, let's let's talk about some funny stuff. When I was 4 years old, my father was a professional athlete, so I was an athlete, very, very good athlete. And different things like I started soccer at 4 because it was football and I wanted to play football. Nobody would ever. So I played soccer.
Mm.
And, one of my first games, my mom had, my little things, I had ribbons in my hair and all that kind of stuff. I knocked some girl over that took the ball away from me. And I was like standing over her going, "That's what you get for trying to take the ball from me." I mean, that was me. That's my personality. And so, I got yanked off the soccer field, at that time. Different things like in sports where in 9 or 10 or 11, you should probably let boys win with that. Boys don't like to lose against girls all the time. And me going, fuck that. That was just who I was. And I've always been kind of an alpha person. I don't do well. Around other alpha people. I'm an alpha person, or I'm either going to leave the room or you're going to get the fuck out of the room. But there's only one alpha, and that's me. I've always been that way.
But being an alpha doesn't make you male. You can be an alpha female.
No, it doesn't.
Right? So it's just. So I think we have the society is so twisted, and we all think that women with leadership are suddenly men. And I talk to women sometimes that they're good leaders, and they always say, "Oh, I'm masculine." No, you're not masculine. Actually, I think you have a strong femininity. People are
That's right.
confusing strong. Yeah, exactly. People are confusing strong femininity with masculinity, which is completely. Yeah, there is, because a woman who have a strong femininity should be very protective with her children. She will have
Yeah,
leadership in the family. Actually, she
you're
will.
absolutely right. I agree with you.
There is she'll decide what is on the table. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me what man would be doing what I'm doing for 5 years. Before I started activism, I was a business sales executive. I made a lot of money, stupid money. Now I live in a basement. I've got rooms separated by blankets. I worked, for 3.5 years, making $17 an hour while doing activism. I have lost the opportunity to go back into business sales. I can never go back into business sales again, being this active. I get attacked by feminists, by evangelicals, by gays and lesbians. I have no group. I am on an island of one. I work about probably 20 hours a day. I have no time for myself whatsoever. I've got a car that I just purchased about a year ago that I have taped so that the bumper fits on it. You tell me one man would do that. You're damn right I'm a woman, and you're damn right I'm a mother. I may look like a man, but there's no man in the world that would be doing what I'm doing, would be sacrificing what I'm sacrificing without going out and buying expensive shoes or all this having some kind of benefit. I have no fucking benefit from doing this. What is a woman? I had to pay to be in that movie. They paid me $400 to go to New York. $400. I had to pay for the rest of it to go there. I didn't know I was going to be the whole hero of it. I got bombarded by all kinds of people coming at me. All these different, everybody's making tons of money on it. I'm not. I'm doing this because I'm a mother.
There we go. And I realize this with a lot of that. I meet a lot of single mothers actually, and they actually very strong, man. They wake up in the morning, they put the children in schools, they go to work, and there is some strength actually in motherhood. There is some yeah. I even
Something
believe that.
weird. There's something weird about it. When you carry life, there's something that clicks over. But then again, when we talk about hormones, because I've had a female puberty, right? I've had a male kind of puberty kind of a thing. So I've been an estrogen driven body, and I've been in a testosterone driven body. And I'll tell you that you do think a little bit different. I mean, I do feel like the whole thing has kind of made me a hybrid thing. I mean, I make jokes about this, but being a lesbian with my wife, if we had problems at all, I mean, we would talk for days. I mean, we would talk and then leave, and then we'd call each other on the phone at work. How are you doing about that talk that we had? Are you okay? Do you really need to talk some more? Okay, let's have some lunch. Okay, meet for lunch. Okay, how are you feeling about that feeling that you were feeling there? Are you feeling okay? Let's talk about that when we get home. I mean, that was us, as lesbians. When I medically transitioned, one of the first things that I realized was Oh my God, I don't want to talk about this no more. Fuck. I mean, it was like in my mind, like I just don't want to talk anymore. So there are differences that hormones do, but the core of me absolutely is 100% a mother.
Yeah. But you are, yeah. I think testosterone actually changed the way you think.
Absolutely, it does. It absolutely, testosterone is absolutely. I call myself a hybrid. I think differently than I
Are you
used
on
to, but I'm the same
testosterone right
person.
now? If you don't mind me to ask, are
Yeah.
you are you on testosterone right now? Or
I try not to take any hormones at all. I've had a hysterectomy, all of it. I try not to take hormones until it becomes kind of dangerously low, and at that point, I do take a tiny bit of testosterone. And I'll tell you why. It just calms my anxiety, and estrogen makes it worse. So for me, all the stuff that I've done, I get one choice of a tiny little thing. If I don't have to deal with some kind of anxiety because of that, then I do choose a tiny bit. I don't take very much of it at all.
Yeah, sometimes you can even just think you do like a little placebo effect in your head, right? You just feel better because there's something about medication sometimes that it
Yeah, well,
makes
I
you
didn't
feel
take
better.
testosterone for almost 2 years, and it
Yeah.
kind of made me, I don't have anything in me at all. And so the doctor kind of showed me the levels and said that you need to be on some hormone of some kind. And so it was at that point where I had to decide what would be better for me. So,
Speaking of hormones, I think one of the arguments of the left that I find so stupid is when they told us that the children are going to kill themselves if they don't transitions, let's say. But
yeah.
the thing is, they are saying that, but then they are giving drug to children that actually can create depressions and can create suicidal thought. So it's like, well, we're gonna prevent suicide by giving them drug that could make them suicidal, and it just doesn't make any sense, right? When
Well,
you think
the truth of it is this: when we're talking about suicidal ideation is a mental illness in itself, and suicidal ideation needs to be treated very, very seriously. My kids know that anybody says anything like they're going to kill themselves or whatever, there's not going to be a big him or hurrah or whatever. Somebody says that to me, they know that that's a serious thing. Get in the car, we're going to the mental hospital. You're going to stay there for a couple of weeks and figure out what the hell's going on. What we're not going to do is I'm not going to give you an overdose of cross-sex hormones in a time when, people don't understand the whole puzzle piece of medical transition. Here's a puzzle piece people don't know. When you have a body that is estrogen driven, let's say you have a little girl that thinks she's a male and that's suicidal. Okay, so let's say the amount of normal level in a girl is 2, whatever it is, just whatever is 2, right? So you're going to start her on medical transition. For you to make her a testosterone driven body, you've got to give her 10 testosterone. So you not only got to double it, triple it, almost, quadruple it to basically take over the estrogen, so that you can have a testosterone driven body. People don't realize it's not like, oh, let's give them a little shot of testosterone, that kind of stuff. And then you give testosterone. Here's something that people don't realize. Testosterone is actually is an antidepressant, and it helps moods when you first start it. So of course these kids feel better. And so if we look at it from a longevity standpoint, there's 7 studies that say that medically transitioning children is beneficial. Every single one of those studies has either been retracted with, oops, we're sorry, it didn't help a fucking thing, or it's been modified with not enough people or little kids to be in the study, not enough time. So every study that said that it was beneficial in your country, you've got the biggest idiot of a prime minister that I've ever absolutely listened to in my entire life. Total fucking retard. Is basically promoting something that has no studies that say it's beneficial. There's only one study that has ever been done by Sweden. It was done from 1973 to 2003. And it found that the highest point of suicidal ideation for these children is 7 to 10 years after. And here's why. You tell a child at 10, or you tell an adult at 42 that, hey, you were born in the wrong body. You're going to feel better when you medically transition. Well, that is a 5 to 7 year process. So when I start on, hormone blockers, I'm going to feel better. You start on those. But I haven't taken cross-sex hormones. When I take those, I'll feel better. No, well, when I get top surgery, I'll feel better. When people stop mispronouncing me, I'll feel better. When people stop being bigots, I'll feel better. when I get bottom surgery, I'll feel better. And then at some point you get done with everything and you kind of go, that didn't help anything. And then you have to realize what you've done to your body. I mean, the carnage that medical transition does to a body is over the top. I mean, I've lost 6 teeth now. I need dentures. I've never lost a tooth in my life before. You know, I've had a pulmonary embolism. I've had a stress heart attack. I have a arm that is disfigured that I can't use anymore. I get reoccurring infections. I've got heart and lung. I've got congestive heart failure, lung damage. I mean, how much more do you want to? And that is not uncommon. Most of these people that get bottom surgeries get reoccurring infections. They have huge, horrendous deals that they have to go with. Most kids that are on hormone blockers create some kind of bone deterioration or damage. You know, but let's look at the studies. There's none.
None that prove that it is not correct, or none that...
There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. No, there's never been a study. The fact that medical transition is worse than experimental, and it's worse than experimental because they're not even following these children. Nobody wants to write the numbers down.
Yeah, but
if you write the numbers down, this would stop instantly. It would stop instantly. You know, but the money behind this, Pierre, is enormous. I mean, in Texas in 2015, there were 22 kids that were on puberty blockers. In 2015, our governor started taking money from a gender clinic that was siphoned through the Southwest to the UT Tyler Center. 2 years later, in our state, there was a 4,000% increase. In 2015, there were $4.6 million worth of monies generated from hormone blockers. In 2015, follow me here, our governor started taking money, you know, up to 2.5 million. 2 years later, that $4.6 million, that $4.6 million, that 4,000% increase turns into just under $100 million. We're not talking about a tiny thing. We're talking about the biggest profit model in medical history, in modern history. The ROI, the return on investment on the medicalization of children, is the biggest medical spread financially that has ever been in the last 300 years. Nobody's talking about that. So, you know, it's like, you know, if I have this water bottle and this water bottle takes, you know, cost me a cent to make, and I sell it for $100, I'm going to want to sell more of these water bottles than if this water bottle cost me a cent and I sell it for 2 cents. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the numbers, the financial backing of this is beyond ridiculous if anybody looked at this. And, you know, the hormone blockers that your country is buying from us, I know that you guys have socialized medicine, but trust me, Lupron is not sitting down with your POs going, Canada's ordering a shit ton of hormone blockers. It's free though, because it's socialized medicine. Get your heads out of your ass.
Yeah, get your head out of your ass, Canadian, and do something about it. I 100% agree with you about that. Yeah, you know, Lupron was given to pedophiles to chemically castrated them, right? And and they stopped giving it to them because it was too hard on pedo. Now they give this to children.
It's an Xbox. Do you know what an Xbox pharmaceutical is?
A Hexpa, no? Explain to me.
No, an Xbox is basically you get a big black X on it, which means that this is a hardcore drug. Only give it for life-saving situations. Don't give it lightly. It's not, you know, it's not like a vitamin C. This is a very, very, very hard drug. Don't give it to women that are pregnant. Don't give it to people. I mean, it has all this whole list of people to give it to, or not to give it to. But we're going to give it to suicidal children.
Yeah.
Okay. And not do studies on it, you know.
You know that the reason I think they are making big money with that, because this is the only conditions that you can. It's kind of yourself that make up that conditions, right? It's a self-taught conditions in a way, right? So you just say, okay, well, I'm a Mormon, therefore I'm going to take all those medications. So if you influence a society that it could be born to their own body, then you make a lot of consumers of that drugs and everything.
Sure, it's an ideology, right? It's an ideology, and ideologies need time to kind of sift themselves with truth or with untruth, right? I mean, think about homosexuality for a minute. You know, religion is an ideology. Homosexuality is a feeling. There's no test that anybody can take that can prove if they're gay or prove if they're transgender, right? But gay rights has been around for a long, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And conversion therapy has been studied over and over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't work. Who you're attracted to doesn't change. Now you could decide that, hey, you know what? I'm attracted to the same sex, but I'm not going to do that. My religion tells me I'm not going to. I'm going to live this life. I'm going to get in a relationship with somebody and be honest with them. That's your choice. But the core of who you're attracted to, I mean, talk to the biggest conversion therapists. They'll even tell you, the gay guys, like, I'll always be attracted to men. It doesn't go away. Time has sifted through that, right? But you do have choices with that. Where is the time with the transgender stuff? Where is the history with the transgender stuff? Because I'm transgender. I talk to hundreds of transgender people, and I'll tell you, there is none that I've talked to that doesn't have any regret. I mean, the one person that is totally happy about medically transitioning that I know personally is Buck. And you know what? He still has some things that, maybe I kind of wouldn't have done that or wouldn't have done, but he thinks that it was life-saving for him. And go for him. He's one of hundreds. Most of them regret some part of it.
Yeah, it's pretty hard not to regret having your body part mutilated. But you talk about the periods too of of sunshine and rainbow when you're on medications, right? It's when you start on testosterone. I like the way you describe it actually. So when you start on testosterone, then you got the other things after, because you think that it's a bit like drug addict, right? You start with little.
Well, sure. Yeah, I've had people, people do say that. I don't feel that it's, I don't know. So I don't talk about things I don't know. I've heard that. I don't have anything negative or positive to say it because I've never researched it. To me, it doesn't sound, it doesn't kind of lift weight about, being a drug or whatever. I could be wrong though. So anybody prove me wrong on that. I don't know for sure. But I have heard people say that. I do know that when you first take testosterone, that it is kind of a mood elevator that goes down. I will tell you though that testosterone, I think people think that this is hilarious, but it is absolutely 100% truth. Testosterone has calmed me down. If I had not medically transitioned and I would do what I'm doing, I would not have lasted more than about 6 months, because I probably would have attacked somebody physically or done something. Testosterone has calmed me down. So this is me calm, by the way.
This is you calm?
This is me calm.
I would not want to piss you off.
No. That's why I was a good business seller. I was.
Well, I always said don't piss off a woman anyway. They did the worst.
What's that now?
I always said don't piss off a woman. They are the
worst.
No. The problem with the guys, the guys who dress like a woman and try to go in their bathrooms, those people do not understand a woman, man. They don't know what they are dealing with. And I think right now they are, because listen, all those trans activists and specifically the one who I will say the man who dress like a woman, I have a tough time with that, man. Especially when they're older. You know
what, Pierre, I'm going to stop you with that. I'm going to stop you with that because you are an alpha man. Look at you. I mean, you're like all these, like, probably moms are like, oh, Pierre, he's so cute. You're a little hottie, little, dude, all that kind of stuff. Love it. But the fact is that all men don't come the way that you are, Pierre. And so, the boxes of what we think a man are and what we think a women are need to expand. And the truth is, Pierre, that there are a lot of men that are feminine, that are straight and attracted to women, but they don't allow that to come out. So they hold that in because they think that doesn't make them a man. Well, that is why we're in this mess right now. So your masculinity should not have anything to do with what another man feels like or doesn't feel like. You being an alpha man is completely and totally okay. Trust me, the girls love you for it. But there are feminine straight men that are just okay the way that they are too. The boxes need to expand. So the idea of a man dressing like a woman, how about we just say this? How about there are some men that like feminine things? And you know what? We need to maybe broaden our idea of what men are. And we need to be able to say to men that like to do feminine or dress like women, all that kind of stuff, that if your whole basis on dressing like a woman is on the head of, no pun intended, of a sexual fetish that is basically pushing an entire agenda. We're medically transitioning kids because of a straight man's sexual fetish for a straight man's erection, and we're medically transitioning children because of money, and that's true.
Yeah.
So those men that are running into the bathroom dressed like women are not they're not like the majority of men that maybe are a little bit more effeminate. So let's not make them criminal. Let's make the criminals, which are these men that are going in women's bathrooms
Yeah.
because they have an erection with the idea of women seeing them as women, as a sexual object. I mean, the whole thing is fucked up. It really is. I mean, we're medically transitioning kids so straight men don't lose their erections, and so that pharmaceuticals can make money and screw everything else that happens. And that's the truth.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I didn't. When I was talking about the man dressing like a woman, I was talking specifically about the ones going to the washroom.
Oh yeah, I don't like
But,
those guys.
like Scott, the guy from the LGBT Alliance. You talked to him with Odessa last time. He's very
Scott Wiener.
Yeah, I think that's his.
Yeah, he's titled genuinely.
And he's very sweet actually, man. You talk to him. He's actually, I think, in my opinion, I think he's very feminine. And I do like the guy. I don't have an issue with men who are feminine. They're actually pretty fun to talk with. You know what I mean? Because it's different. You know what I mean? To talk with a guy who's feminine.
That's nice to hear, Pierre. Thank you for saying that, because I think that strong men like you that say that kind of stuff is going to change things for the better, because nothing's black or white. And you understanding that it's not black and white sure in the hell makes you more of a man than not doing so. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure, man. Listen, I have no problem with gay, lesbians, even trans people. I have a problem with the fact that this ideology is mutilating children and all this stuff. But no, gay people. I used to live in Vancouver at 2 blocks from Davie Street, and Davie Street was the gay place in Vancouver anyway. And I always laughed because I always told people that was fun because no one was eating my wife; they were all on me. That was cool. I was going around, man. Oh man, you got a nice glass, and all this stuff, right? I was
yeah, sure, you can go out, honey.
Yes, I stayed there for a while. I stayed there for 4 years actually. But when I started to have children, I just moved away because I didn't do it. That was not a good place to teach gay children anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. So no, I have no problem. I'm pretty open with that kind of stuff anyway, man. I believe in I think tolerance is very important in a society in order for everyone to live in harmony. Okay, I truly believe it. I think acceptance is another game, right? Forcing people to accept stuff. I mean, I can tolerate people. Let's say homosexual. I can tolerate them, and I would say I even accept them. Because I got friends that are homosexual. So, but I don't think everyone should accept homosexuality or accept. I don't think everyone should accept everyone's behaviors or sexual orientation. I don't think so. I think we should all tolerate each other for the only reason that we need to live in harmony together in a society. This is Canada. You share US with a lot of people, and I share Canada with a lot of people, and we all have to live together. Right, so I think that that's the importance of tolerance. The problem I see with the governments, probably the same with the U.S. government, is they try to push acceptance down to your throat. It's like you have to accept these behaviors, and the things too with tolerance and acceptance, it's something that is come from the heart. You know what I mean? When I say I tolerate this, I thought about this, right? I thought about this in my head. And I tolerate this, but it's comes from me. It's not someone that's telling me, Pierre, you have to accept this, or I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do this to your kids. It's come from my heart. And I believe that what the government is doing actually is they are removing humanity. The humanity we have inside us, it's removing it by telling us, by forcing us to accept things. So that sometimes I think the purpose is doing that to remove that that sense of humanity, because it's feel human to tolerate stuff actually. It's
Mhm.
but when you're forced to
Mhm.
tolerate this, it's not for you. You use all your humanity, man.
Well,
That's my
maybe
way of seeing stuff. But
let me see.
yeah.
It's maybe are you saying that basically that um, acceptance is something that you basically can't force somebody to have acceptance at all. Um, and gays and lesbians deserve to be accepted with love and without having it being shoved down their throat. But also that being gay and lesbian and bisexual or whatever your sexuality is, I don't care. It's nothing to be celebrated. There's nothing to celebrate about being straight. There's nothing to celebrate about being gay and lesbian or bisexual. It is just something that you are. And you know what? And I believe personally that we deserve dignity and respect. But when we force that down somebody's throat, well, we sure lose our grace, number one. And it's fake acceptance, right?
There you
And
go.
somebody's sexuality is such a small portion of who they are. And I don't understand the focus, number one.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact is that being homosexual, you have a harder life than if it's straight. And I'll argue with anybody until the cows come home. I've got 3 children. I don't want any of my children to be gay. I don't. And I don't want any of my children to be gay because it is a harder life. I've lived it, number one. Number two, I would like to have grandchildren and not have to go through the whole, the whole extra, thing that you have to do being homosexual. I don't want my kids to be judged. So all the things that are kind of combined into it, I'm not out there, if one of my children tells me that they're gay, I'm not going to throw a fucking party. I'm not. I'm going to sit them down and I'm going to say, listen, just because you are attracted to somebody of the same sex does not give you the ability to not have dignity, respect for your body, for you to choose a life partner and to make that commitment and not cheat on them and not think that the whole world's your oyster sexually, not to basically intimidate somebody by your sexuality. You need to have the same grace and love and respect for your body regardless of who you're attracted to. And that's where we've kind of ended with homosexuality right now. We've gotten to the point where it's gone too far over. There is nothing to celebrate. To accept, yes, but how is society going to accept us gays and lesbians when the majority of the ones out front are acting like fucking donkeys?
But yeah, but I think that's a part of the big plans, in my opinion. This is everything that happened. Actually, everything that happened is actually to have people turning turning against all the LGBT community.
Oh, I've been saying that for 5 years,
Yeah,
Pierre. We're going to have a bad thing, a
yeah,
bad, 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 bad. And that's why I'm
yeah,
trying to get the Rainbow Rebellion up.
yeah,
And I'm also trying to have people,
yeah,
when somebody starts saying something bad about, on my Twitter, there was somebody that said something about, gays and lesbians. Well, that's, disparaging to gays and lesbians. I don't care. I hate gays and lesbians because of all this. And I sent something back to them. And that's where we need to have leaders that have grace and dignity and respect in return, which is, I sent a text back where I understand what you're saying. I do, but unfortunately life isn't black and white. And if
yeah,
we start to get back on the road of being black and white, because the majority of people that are leading the gay and lesbian community right now, number one, are not gay or lesbian. Number two, their organizations making money on it. Number three, you're going to be right back in the same place. But the hate is going to come back. The hate is like a 50-year thing. 50 years ago, we hated gays and lesbians and we loved evangelicals. And now we love gays and lesbians and we hate evangelicals. Well, that's going to
yeah.
switch, and how long that's going to last and how deep that's going to cut depends on the people who are leading, who's leading the gays and lesbians and transgender people, or who are leading the evangelicals. And I'll be damned if I'm ever going to be a black and white person about anybody's religion or anybody's hate or intolerance or whatever. I'm going to judge people one on one.
Exactly. So you got it. You said I don't think everyone design. I don't think any group. Um, how can I say that? So wait a minute. Um, Gosh, just because they are part of the group deserve dignities and respects and all this stuff. I don't think so. I think each
Nope.
individual deserve dignity and respect. So I judge people for me when I talk to them, and I don't care about the sexual orientations or even the way they look, man. I don't give a half. I talk with like I was in a restaurant last time with a group of freedom fighters, and I was talking with a woman. She was 350 pounds. I didn't give a shit. I talked to her for an hour. I had a nice discussion with her. I didn't care about the way she looked. You know what I mean? So for me, but she was a good person. So for me, it's the same way. It's the same way I treat, let's say, people who identify with the sexual orientations. But I do understand that there are some people that because of their religions, well, they don't want to be affiliated with people who are homosexuals or and all this stuff.
I got a funny story about this, Pierre.
Yeah,
I got to tell you this because I think this is hilarious.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, the state of Missouri has a evangelical senator, Senator Moon. Anyways, long story short, I won't go into it, but basically they kind of ran the bill, ditch in the ground, and then they asked me to come back and help. And so I said, okay, are you guys going to let me help and not help from behind? Can I help? I'll work with the evangelical. So I work with this really, really evangelical organization.
Okay.
Judy Grace is her name. And basically the sweetest lady, never been around gay people, never really talked to gay people before. And she was just so timid. And, at the beginning of it, I told her, I said, Judy, I said, I grow on you. So just, give me a second. We'll be good. We'll be good. And so we developed a relationship, and we had different things that kind of came up and kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed her kind of stop, like lowering her guard a little bit. I would go to the functions, they would pray, speak in tongues and all that kind of stuff. And I'll be right around them. You know what I mean? Respect is given and taken on all different, to all different, uncomfortable places. I mean, we had called, one of the guys with Gays Against Groomers, because we had a question on a three-way call. And he's at a protest, and I'm like, hey, Mario, where are you at? Gay guy that, wears stiletto heels. And he's like, oh, I'm at an anti-abortion clinic, or we're trying to get them to shut down abortions. They're doing late-term abortions and all. Like, I'm with my evangelical friends. And, it doesn't matter what you believe or what you don't believe. But basically what it was is that whatever conception she had about gay people was shattered once she started talking to us. And so when we go into relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
We're always going to have that in the back of our mind. If an evangelical's always, that's been taught, like, she's always going to go into it a little bit like gays and lesbians, and that is just what it is. It's not being a hateful person. It's just her life and her experiences.
Yeah.
So if we're going to change hearts and minds to people to understand that human beings and dignity and respect, comes in a vast, kind of room full of things, we need to have dignity and respect for people in the beginning, and allow people to see who we are. When we do things like, I've been kicked off of Twitter 7 times. I mean, I'm so suppressed, it's not even funny how suppressed I am. But when people get to know me, they kind of go, wow, I had no clue that that's really kind of what you thought. But I get attacked through and through and through and through and through. So dignity, grace, and respect, it goes both ways.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you are a person who deserves respect, but I don't think the respect of someone should be based on the sexual orientations. But that's for me. That's me. That's the way I'm thinking. I don't force anyone to think like that. And in regards to, let's say, in regards to religions, I don't think anyone is without sin. Okay, and let's say the religions, they say that homosexuality, let's say, is a sin, but no one is without sin. So for me that's the way I balance this religiously, is that we all sinner anyway, so we all at the same level.
I don't think there's any human being or any religion on the face of the earth that has everything figured out. Sorry, I just don't think so.
Yeah, it's an interpretation. So, but that's the point I'm making, is that we are all sinner, so we are all on the same page. You know what I mean? But, as long as you're not a freaking child abuser and all this stuff, it's another case according to the old book. So yeah.
I'll tell you, I've met a lot of people in my life, and I'll tell you, some of the most horrid people were very, very religious people. And I've also met some really incredible people that were religious, but the worst people were, and they backed behind the idea of making everything that they did was religion based. So it's like, listen, I'm a total piece of shit, but here's a religion piece that goes behind it. And so we're all so different as human beings. We really are. But there are very few black and white things. And I always say this about the medicalization of children. Medicalization of children is black and white. It's a very, very rare situation, I think, in any kind of political realm. There's no good to it. There's no reason to do it. It is wrong on every level. And I have yet to have anybody debate me. I've had the leading endocrinologist was going to debate me, found out at me, not going to debate me. I mean, nobody will be in the same room with me, and nobody will be in the same room with me because they know I'm right.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. You're right. No one should mutilate their children. That's like, so what do you think that parents should do? Let's say, parents who don't have balls to talk to teachers.
What do I think parents should do with what?
Yeah, should do. Let's say if they go to schools and there is a teacher who's got his full Rambo and BLM flags and full commie. Yeah. So
it depends on the child. It depends on the child. But I'll tell you that there's that not very much would have to happen for me to turn Rambo on that. Honestly, I'd take my kid out and move to Canada. Well, shit, I won't go to Canada. I don't know where I'd go. But it depends on the kind of level. And I would, here's what I say about it. I think parents freak out a little bit too soon, and sometimes I think they don't freak out fast enough. So depending on the child. So if I had a child that came home and said that they thought that they were trans, I would just be like, really? How does that work? What test? What made you feel that way? And I would just kind of go, well, you know what? I don't know what to tell you. That's an adult decision. Or just like gays and lesbians. I'd have 13-year-old come home and tell me that she's a lesbian. We're like, okay, great. What are we having for dinner? You're not having sex with anybody. I mean, I think we're complicating things a little bit with kids. But I would take it away from my kids, and I would take it away by making them do the work of getting educated on it. So if I had a child that was just convinced that they were transgender, what I would say is that, all decisions have good and bad decisions. There are no decisions in life that are all good and all bad. You decide who you're going to marry. Whatever man you decide to marry, there's going to be goods and bads about that man, goods and bads about that marriage, whatever career, all that kind of stuff. So there's nothing that's black and white with decisions. So what is the black and white? What are the goods and bads of medical transition? And, if they came back with all positives, I would, just say that is just, proof positive that you're not ready to make these decisions. And I would make it a basically, like a weekly thing with my children to come up with the goods and bads of medical transition and kind of pull it away that it's not a decision, and let them know that it is a decision by allowing them to look at the goods and bads. Once they start looking at the bads, once anybody starts looking at the bads from an objective point of view, especially now with the information out there, there's really nobody that's going to walk away and go, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But you got to get them to look at the negative. You got to get them to look past the unicorn farts and the glitter bombs. And they're starting to dissipate. The glitter bombs and unicorn farts are going down, man. They're going down. They really are. And they're going to go down really quick with the Rainbow Rebellion. Once people realize that gays and lesbians and transgender people are like, hold the fucking phone. What are we doing to kids? I think that once gays and lesbians start to come out and talk, I think people are going to do I think necks are going to be broken with how fast it's going to stop.
It's happened in Canada. Actually, we do a lot of rally the weekend, and we do have the couple members of the LGBTQ community that are coming with us. And in that groups, there is Muslims, Christians, secular peoples, and many kinds of Sikh religions. There is so many type of people, and it's very comic to see, like, you see the Muslims with the LGBTQ peoples together fighting to protect the children. So
I said that 5 years ago, Pierre. I said that 5 years ago. Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody always thinks I'm crazy. I just wish people would listen to me in the beginning. God, it would be out so soon. I said this 5 years ago. That the way that this will stop. The way that this will stop is with all communities coming together. Unfortunately, activism, like I said, I've just realized, is a business. And this business has a subculture, right? And social media has just blown that out of proportion. So we have these cult mentalities. We've got these conservatives that, woke, unwoke, right, left. And then we've got all these things. We got the feminists have their sub-tribe, and then the conservatives have their sub-tribe, and then we got the liberals that have their sub-tribe, and they got the gays and lesbians get their sub-tribe, and we got the judges and all that kind of stuff. And so for you to basically sustain activism, you have to be part of a sub-tribe, because that sub-tribe is the one that gives you donations and kind of lifts you, right? When you start talking outside of that sub-tribe, you lose all funding, like me, and you live in basements with sheets, but you say the truth. But that is the only way, and that's why we are butchering an entire generation. That is the reason why in 50 years people are going to have dinner parties and click glasses and go, what in the fuck happened that they allowed that child? What we're doing to children is that bad. It's going to be looked at like Hitler. Like, how in the fuck did that happen? But the way that we stop it is not by one community. Every single sub-tribe has a revenue base. It's all business. They want to claim that win. Conservatives want to claim that win. Religious people want to claim that win. Feminists want to claim that win. Everybody wants to claim the win for stopping the medicalization of children. The problem is that it's so deeply entrenched in the idea that it's about human rights. There's so many puzzle pieces to it that the only time you get people to look and listen objectively is when you have everybody there. And when you have everybody there is when the medicalization of children will stop. Unfortunately, there's not going to be one sub-tribe that gets all of the credit. So we are medically transitioning children right now. And I hate to say this, but because activism is a business, and that's the truth.
Well, that's that's a good way of seeing stuff. I mean, there is dangers in the left and in the right as well. So I do agree with that part. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. In regards to the kids, for me, let me tell you what I will do if one of my kids came back home and told me, one of my daughter came back home and told me she's a boy. Okay, and I make a joke about it, but I will probably do it. The first thing I will do is I will go slap in the face whoever put this in the head of my daughters in school.
Of course you would, Rambo.
Then I will come back home and tell my daughter that there's no problem, everything is fixed. You'll never be a boy. So for me, that's very simple. You know what I mean? There is no because I don't want to explain to my kids what is all this. Because then you put those ideas into the head of the kids, right? So I try to protect them I don't want to, I didn't talk about much about all the trend stuff to my children because I don't want to put this in their head. This thing.
Here, I gotta stop you right here. This is hilarious. You just said the most male thing and like stereotypical male thing. And you know what? I love you for it, honey. But you just said that, listen, my gay's coming out because I sound gay when I start to talk like this. But so, right. You just said that basically, if your daughter told you that she was a boy, you would go out and beat the shit out of whoever told her that, number one. And then you would come back and tell her that, no, you're not, love you very much, and walk away. That is the most male approach to it. And you know what? I think that is wonderful. I hope that your wife would come behind her and talk to her a little bit. But I totally understand that. But that is hilarious. You beat the shit out of him and tell her she's wrong.
Yeah, that's it. Or the wife will take care of the daughter. I mean,
you know what? We all have our roles. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's not actually. Yeah, but the thing at the stage that the problem is, our government went to an extremes where, let's say, hypothetically, if one of my kids, if my daughter, let's say, was saying she's a boy, well, it's very dangerous because
it is dangerous.
So it's like just the fact that she thinks that is like. Well, and if I don't affirm her, right, they can take her away from me. So that's what I mean. So,
that's nuts to me. How do you do that? I just I have to say that there's no way that any of my kids would come. I would pull this away from them so fast. But there are so many parents that don't understand that there's a hook that hooks into this when you don't belong, and that hook clicks in. That you get to belong. And the most of the kids that really get this, whether or not it offends people or not, they are the strange kids. They're all the kids, if you have one that doesn't fit in, you know how special they are. but nobody else does when they're a kid. So you have to deal with them. But when they're 25 and they're a CEO, because there's nobody, just no normal person has done anything great in this world. They're all different, right? It just takes time to figure that out. But when you're different and you're 11, 12 years old or 42, and that click, that hooks in, that's like reeling in a fish. It's hard to get that hook out. So these parents need to be very, very aware of this. So there's at a point too where I would go Rambo. If it was in the beginning of it, I would go absolutely Rambo. If it came in and the hook was in, I would be a little bit more strategic than beating them up or beating up the person that said that, or telling them wrong. So I think there's different stages that you need to do different things to get that hook out. And the question needs to be for the parents is the hook in? If the hook in, you're fucked. Because you got a long road of puberty for about 4 years. It's going to be a long road.
I'm not sure if it's Billboard Chris that said that. I'm not sure about that, but I think he said that, the best things to do for parents sometimes, if the hook is in, like you said, we go on vacations with them for 2 weeks, 1 month, just vacations with them alone.
I agree with them.
A good bonding with them, and then put them away from the school.
Absolutely.
For just a couple of weeks, it will fade away. That's some of the
I absolutely would do that. And I agree with Chris on that. And I would go even further, not just vacation. If your child has a hook in that big, I would move. I mean, I've known parents that have moved and it's done. I would move away. I mean, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to get my kid to have a healthy body and for them to make a decision. You know what? Because the truth is that medical transition is cosmetic surgery. It does not cure anything. Convincing people it does. We talked about the money, but everybody has the right to do cosmetic surgery. It's not life-saving. Cosmetic surgery is not something that a child should partake in at all. And this plastic surgery really, it's a carnage on the emotional soul, the physical soul, everything. I've had a life. I've had 3 kids. My health is fucked, but I'm 50 years old. If I sit back and think about it too long, I'll start bawling. These kids don't realize what's going to happen to them when they're 18, 19 years old. 4 years ago, I read a suicide note that I think of almost daily from a 19-year-old transgender woman. And it was the most horrible note to actually have to read and see the image of. It had blood on it and everything. It was basically, I was a kid, Mom and Dad. Why did you think that I was born in the wrong body? I was just a gay boy. And now I can't have kids. Now I have early onset osteoporosis. Now I'm suicidal, and now I'm going to kill himself. And he did. And that's the truth. That's the absolute truth of what's happening to these children. And those parents have to live with that.
Yeah. Affirming your child is not always the best thing to do. I don't think it's ever the best things to do anyway. Affirming
anybody for anything, any type of ideology, it's not your place to affirm anybody. I don't care if you're a parent or what you are. If you love somebody that talks to you about an ideology that can change, a feeling that goes back and forth, and you tell them what they need to think, or you tell them what not to think, and not just go, what is going on? Talk to me about that. Why do you feel that way? What's going on with you? I want to listen. And then listen. And then listen.
We have something in BC that is called the Infant Act. Okay, so the Infant Act allows children to consent to medical surgeries and medications like puberty blockers without parent. I don't know if you have something similar in the US. So you see that's the dangers I see for me when you start to affirm your children's. Then the children can just decide to go that way without your own consent.
I'm sorry. I think Canada needs to absolutely flip out. I really do. I mean, I know that it was getting bad up there, but if that's the case, and they're starting to do that in the United States too, they're trying to pass bills with this kind of stuff. I don't see it getting very far with the United States with the conservatives and stuff. Once the conservatives and the gays and lesbians start to come together, I'm worried about Canada. I really am. You guys need to flip the fuck out. You really do. You really, really do. And I wish Canadians really knew what Americans think about like males in your country. We all just want to say, well, you guys grow some fucking balls. Seriously.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I agree with you.
You and Billboard Chris are about the only real men I know in Canada. The rest of you guys are pussies. Seriously.
Yeah, there we
And
go.
and women are tough in Canada. But you know what? Canada's so male chauvinist, they don't listen to girls. I mean, it's just the whole country's fucked up. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I would flip the fuck out if I was in Canada.
Here we go, man. One of the most famous hospital for children, the Vancouver Children Hospital. They have a page on the website, for 17 years old and below about puberty blockers, testosterone, and estrogen, and all this bullshit. Telling them exactly all the routes they have to follow to get there. It's right on their website. It's crazy, man. It's just
I don't know what to tell you. You've got an absolute idiot running the country. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, has anybody ever checked his IQ? I think he's probably dangerously low. He probably shouldn't even be.
well,
He should be running a fucking conga line. But you know what? I don't know.
I think honestly, I think the majority of the MPs, of the member of the parliament in Canada, are all corrupt to the core. I don't trust anyone in politics right now that does not talk about this stuff in school.
There's too much money in ideology. Yep, there's too much money. There's too much money in the whole rainbow. That's why I call it the rainbow farts, the glitter bombs. It really is. We need decent gays and lesbians, and thank God the Rainbow Rebellion's coming. Decent gays and lesbians are coming up because here's the truth. 10 years ago, we won all the rights that we needed. All the decent gays and lesbians, we went home to raise kids. We don't know what's going on. The activists that are running the things right now, they're all the perverts. They're all the people that are, financially, all the ones that are at home. Like I was making, chicken nuggets before I came down for my kids. I mean, my whole life is my kids. Seriously, my whole life. That's all it is. It's the kids and activism. And, that's my whole life. But if this didn't happen to me, I would not have a clue. I would not have to understand what's happening with transgender ideology. You need to research, you need to look, you need to read, you need to know the puzzle pieces. Unfortunately, you're not going to find them in the news. So I know my community. I know gays and lesbians. I know them. I know when they start figuring out what is happening to these children, all these people that didn't belong as gays and lesbians realize that all the kids that don't belong in more ways are getting taken advantage of. Gays and lesbians are going to be pissed off, the real ones, when they figure out what's happening. The problem is we have to get them to understand what's happening because news and nobody else is telling them.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know about US, but in Canada, I mean, all the mainstream media, they all with the liberal government. Actually, they all with the government because I think the entire government right now is liberals. It's very simple. Canada is just, there's no conservative and liberal. This thing is done. It's just
you need a balance, right? That's one of my best friends is evangelical and he doesn't agree with homosexuality, and I think he's an idiot. And we have these conversations where I tell him he's fucked and he tells me I'm fudged and all that kind of stuff. And then we come in the middle, and I always tell him, I go, you know what? We need each other. When you remove one of us, what happens? We have what's going on right now. And the media and the subculture and the subtribal and maybe what's happening in Canada too, there's an imbalance. We need a balance. Unfortunately, we need a balance, and we balance each other out. Right now, there's too much on one side, and we have total chaos because of it.
Oh yeah, but the backlash is coming. The backlash is coming.
Yeah, it's gonna. I know it's gonna go the other way too.
And the backlash is coming, so we just have to be a bit moderate in the way that things. Be aware.
I'm already thinking about how to fix that because I know that gays and lesbians are we're gonna have the hate. You know what? We deserve it for not coming up, but my God, there's got to be somebody that has some kind of head on their shoulders to be able to kind of take this out because we're gonna get so much hate. And you know what? I have to say that we deserve it for staying quiet with it. But a lot of people aren't gonna understand why people are so angry.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Deserve it is an entire. I don't know.
I'll say I'll understand it. I'll understand how people will be so angry. I don't think we deserve it because I don't think anybody deserves hate, but I will understand why people would be so mad at us. And we need to once again have a lot of grace and dignity for that from our community. And I just don't see any grace and dignity at all from the leaders in the gay and lesbian community at all.
Let me tell you something. If all the Christians in Canada would have stand up and do something about it, This will never had happen. So the Christians actually are to blame in Canada also. So there's not only because of one groups of person that didn't do anything. The entire population didn't do fuck all about everything that happened now. So there is a lot of religious peoples in Canada that are saying nothing about it. Nothing. Fuck all. Right? They even promote some of this shit in the
Yeah, well, everybody's scared of being called a bigot. Well, I always just say, you know what? Well, a bigot today about this debate is a
yeah.
hero tomorrow.
Yeah, but exactly. So then they have no grounds. They cannot claim to believe in
Yeah.
something if they are not capable of defending what they are believing in. You know what I mean? So it's,
I got my kids. I gotta finish making them dinner. I don't have all of this stuff. I need to get going for my kids.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I can talk to you about? They keep yelling at me. Sorry.
Really? Oh, that's cool, man. But whatever you want, man. What do you want us to do as Canadian for the Rainbow Rebellion?
The Rainbow Rebellion. So listen, we're having the Rainbow Rebellion, which is going to be in Missouri. It's going to be the 24th. Go on my website, either Gays Against Groomers or Tree Voice. Another thing, if we have organizations that are working together, which people don't do that anymore. We need each other.
Yeah.
So Tree Voices or Gays Against Groomers. Any other organization that wants to get involved, more than happy to do so. We need everybody. We'll promote everybody. This Rainbow Rebellion is run by gays and lesbians and transgender and bisexual people only. We need everybody else to help lift us up. So we accept everybody. You guys want to come out on that Pride Parade, please do so. Anybody and everybody is accepted to help this. We're all a community, all together. Go to my website, do whatever you want. Support me, support Gays Against Groomers, whatever you need. But please support somebody. Support Billboard Chris, support you, support me. Something. Do something. Do something.
There we go. I like that. That's a good end. So I'm gonna let you finish the food of your kids.
I know. I started this thing talking about mom thing. I started this whole thing about homemade food my whole life, about not going out and eating. It has totally backfired. I've got kids that are like huge and want to eat all the time, and I got to cook all the time. So,
yeah.
All right. Thank you, Pierre.
Okay, good. Bye-bye.
Love you much. Okay, you take care. Bye-bye.